Hi, everybody. Great to see you all. Hey, hey. Just gonna wait 2 minutes like I always do. And why don't you type where you're chiming in from in the chat? It's great to see all of you. Hope you are gonna have a fun 4th of July week. Chicago, Pennsylvania, Half Moon Bay, Florida, Washington, California, Niagara Falls, Vermont. Blah, 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 blah. Connecticut, Oregon, awesome, Canada, Pennsylvania. So great to have people from all over. Germany, yay, I did the measurements in metric in addition to whatever we call our standard kind of measurements. So I'm happy someone came that uses metric. Yay, so great to see everybody. Virginia, New York. We're just typing where we're from for 1 more minute and then I'll get started. And as I always do on these particular Zoom meetings, this is the paper year is now open for registration. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the paper year first, and then we'll do the project. And if you have any questions at any time, you can type them into the chat. Lori is my technical assistant. She's assisting me today. She'll be monitoring that if I miss anything. And yeah, I'm looking forward to making this pop-up house card with all of you. And by the way, if you make it and you feel like posting it on Instagram, that'd be wonderful. If you could tag me, Helen Hiebert, and the paper year, I'd love that. I'll see it. Yeah, so let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen. I had a little gremlin here just in our testing. Hopefully everything is going to work fine. So hang on, got to move something. Can't see my controls. Okay, there we go. Okay. So let me get organized here. For those of you who don't know me, my cursor isn't working. There we go. I'm Helen Hiebert, and I run a papermaking studio high up in Colorado's Rocky Mountains near Vail and Beaver Creek ski resorts in a tiny hamlet called Red Cliff. I actually live in Edwards, and I drive 20 miles up into the mountains to the studio, which is near the infamous Green Bridge, which you see here. I also try to ski once a week, but it's more like once every 2 weeks in the winter. And many of you know I just returned from a trip to Japan where I led my first Japan paper tour. And one of the many highlights was having this woman, Aki-chan, pull over on her bicycle because she knew our guide. This is Nick Cladis, who's at the University of Iowa. And she pulled out some handmade paper and gave it to us, and she sang a paper making song. It was like 2 minutes long. It was really fun. So that's just one little highlight. Of course, I went to paper stores and visited paper makers, and I'll be talking more about the trip in an upcoming blog post and in an online presentation later this fall. This is my studio, and I hold 2 papermaking master classes in May and July for those who want to take a deep dive into papermaking, and an annual retreat in my studio every August. The sessions are all full this year, but I've provided links in the chat if you're interested in adding your name to the waiting list for either of those for next year. In addition to making art, I've always been fascinated with paper as a material and all the ways that it can be manipulated. So I spend a good deal of my time designing unique projects, and I feature these in my how-to books. I'm currently working on a book about paper weaving, which will come out in 2025. And these are the kinds of projects that we also focus on in the paper year. So the paper year is a membership program that I started in January of 2021 to inspire members with a new technique and project every month. In addition to gaining skills for working with paper, members enjoy being part of a generous and supportive paper community. If you join the paper year now, you will gain access to a growing library filled with past projects. There are over 40 projects in the library and counting, along with many other recorded events. Here are some highlights from the last couple of months. I organized this by quarter, so we're just starting the third quarter, so I'm talking now about the second quarter, what we've just done. We made these twisting lights in April, which involved cutting slits across a fold and transforming single sheets of flat paper into sculptural vessels. Each quarter, we also have a surface design workshop, and that's a 2-hour live online workshop. And our most recent one was with Beth Stockdell, who introduced us to the Zentangle method. All Zoom events are recorded and posted for those who cannot attend live. In May, we created pop-up and out books with guest artist Kit Davey. Each quarter, I invite a guest artist to design a project for the group, and they also visit us for a Zoom meeting during that month to share more about their work. One of the things I love most about the paper year is seeing the way that members approach projects. Each is so unique, and it is truly inspirational and motivating to see what others are creating. In June, we explored hexagonal weaving. We share what we're creating each month in the online community forum in Rizuku, which is the teaching platform that I use. Lots of people ask me whether you have to be on Facebook to be in the paper year, and we don't do anything on Facebook. It's a program called Rizuku that we work through. There are 2 ways to join the paper year. All of this is outlined on the registration page. There's a link for that in the chat. There's a video there about the paper year too, but in brief, PDF subscribers will receive just that, a PDF with instructions for the monthly project. All-in subscribers receive the PDF, video instructions, and a couple of monthly Zoom meetings. As you see here, you can pay by the month for either plan. And please note that this is a subscription, so you'll automatically be billed each month, but you can cancel at any time. If you cancel, you do lose access to the previous tutorials and to the program. Here's an example of part of a monthly PDF. These are available to download and or print out and save forever. And this gives you an idea of what a monthly video looks like. As I've said, you will also have access to a wonderful online community where we post photos of our work and provide supportive feedback. I'm making an inflatable ball here in this video, which is our July project, and that will be available in the classroom next Monday, July 8th. All in-plan members meet on Zoom twice a month. We often have a special guest at our monthly Zoom meeting, which will either be a guest artist, a paper supplier, like Studio Carta, who will visit us in October, or a surface design workshop instructor. We also have a 2-hour monthly open studio Zoom session where you can carve out time to complete the monthly project, and we spend time getting to know each other and share paper tips and tricks. Here's a brief peek at what we're doing during the third quarter of 2024, and registration is open today through July 10th. As I said, in July, we're making inflatables, and I always try to introduce a variety of papers through the projects, and this project utilizes thin papers that have body, like tissue paper, tracing paper, or kite paper. And this is, I think, the hardest thing, even for me, to select the right paper for a project. So that's something I'm really fascinated with and interested in exploring. Our surface design workshop for this quarter will take place in August, and we'll create strap-bound books with embellished covers with Claudia Lee. In August, we'll also have a guest artist, Stephanie Wolf, who will visit our monthly Zoom meeting and tell us more about her work, and who will share this around the square book structure, which was originally designed by Ken Leslie. And in September, we'll explore a scroll structure, I call it Scroll a Notebook, created with craft text, a unique paper-like material. And I try to encourage people to explore new materials, but I don't require it. So most people don't have craft text laying around, so I'll tell you where to get that, but you could make this with other papers as well that you have on hand. So that's the paper year in a nutshell. Please visit the link that's in the chat to watch my video trailer, read more, and register. And I hope you'll join us as we continue to explore this versatile medium.
Helen, there's one note in the chat. April said, I thought the paper year was a yearly calendar.
Used to be. That's been a while ago, 2020. I did it from 2017 to 2020 as a calendar, but now it's an online membership program. Lori, can you stop the share? I can't access my mouse. Thank you. And let's see, are there any other questions right now? Anybody have questions about the paper year? Okay. So anytime you do, feel free to ask. Okay, so we are going to make this pop-up house card now. So let's switch over to my hands. Let me get my little instruction list. And let me see what you're looking at. Okay. All right, don't let this overwhelm you. This is like a little helpful guide as we go along for measurements. Now, I really wanted to, if I provided a template for this, it would be really easy. So I wanted to make it a little more complicated and teach you about how pop-ups work, because there's a symmetry in this pop-up. And it's not that you can't make asymmetrical pop-ups, but that's the main technique we're doing here is a pop-up, but then there's also these punched holes that you see because the card is backed with a darker paper. So I just added that as an extra element, and I'll show that at the end. I put a little punch design on the front too. So there's kind of the contrast of light to dark and dark to light. So hopefully everybody saw the supply list. There is the link in the chat in case you didn't. And I just want you to check your two papers and see they're two different sizes, and that's just so that you have a little border around the three edges only. So we're going to make our bottom flush so that the card can sit flat on a tabletop, but then there's just a little frame around the edges, and that's just design. They could be the same size. Okay. So I've just got a cutting mat, an X-Acto knife, pencil, bone folder. I've got some double-sided tape and a ruler. Okay, so we're going to jump right in here. And the first thing we're going to do is score and fold both sheets in half.
Can you give the measurements for those again?
For these sheets, this was in the supply list. I'm going to tell them, but I can't wait for you to cut them. So the outer card is 8.5 by 5.5 inches. And the inner card is 8 1/4. by 5 3/8 inches. I would just cut a sheet in half and have them both be the same size rather than trying to make that smaller one. So 8.5 by 5.5 is half of an 8.5 by 11. If you're going to try to do that right now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is score in the middle, or if your paper is light enough, mine's 80 pound. I'm just going to fold it because that's easier. I don't have to measure. So I'm going to fold it in half, score it, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my second sheet. Fold it in half and score. And so this is how they're going to nest. And then I'm going to take, well, let me give you another minute.
And this is Lori, and I just want to mention, please drop your questions into the chat. I am monitoring the chat and I will read them aloud or answer you directly, depending.
Thanks. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take just the smaller sheet. So the inside that we're going to make the pop-up on. Set the outer sheet aside. You don't need that for a while. And then I folded it this way. I'm going to flip it over. We're going to do a bunch of writing and drawing on the back, and that will be hidden. That's a nice thing about this double. The fact that I'm putting this into a cover is that anything I write or draw on the back of this, you won't see it. So you don't have to erase it. Okay, now what we're going to do, and I'm just putting this here as a little guide if you need it, but if you just follow along, you might not even need it. We are going to measure out from the center, and we're just going to be drawing these vertical lines first. So there's 3 verticals on either side of the center. And as I said before, this is symmetrical. So what I'm going to do is line my center fold line, score line along on a line on my cutting mat. So if you have a US cutting mat, you can do that too. If you're using a ruler, you can measure from the center line if you don't have the cutting mat and just make marks. I'm going to kind of do a hybrid so you can see both. So what we're going to do, and I'm not using any numbers like 0. I'm just going from this random number 6 because I'm going to measure both ways. So I'm going to go 1 inch. And if you look on here, that's, I got to look, 2.6 centimeters. So I'm down here at the bottom now. 2.6 centimeters, 3.8 to the second line, 5.1 to the third line. And then it's 1 inch, and then 1.5, and then 2. So all it is, I'm making a mark 1 inch, and then a half and a half. So that's 1.5 and 2. So I move that to 0. See, 1, 1.5, 2. Just make those tick marks. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. This is why the numbers are arbitrary, because I don't have a ruler that goes backwards. So I'm going to go 1 inch, and then 1.5, 2. Or the length's 1, half, and half. Then again, in centimeters, it's 2.6, and then 3.8 from the center line and 5.1 from the center line. So let me know if that's confusing. Anybody? You're just going to do the same thing on both sides. I made those marks at the bottom edge of my paper. And then if you have a cutting mat with the grid, you can just connect the top and bottom markings. Or if you don't have that, you just measure and make those tick marks at the top. So we're just going to draw these series, this series of lines. And the most important thing here is that you're going the same distance from the center line on the left and the right. You could play with the proportions in a second variation of this. So for the pop-up to work, they just have to be the same distance, but they don't have to be the exact distances that I'm, those are just distances that I chose. So I'm going to give you a minute to catch up, and when you're done, in the bottom of your Zoom screen, there are reactions. And at the very top of that, click on the thumbs up. So I just did it. You'll see it in the upper left of my little box. So I'm just getting an idea of, when to move on, when about a little more than half of you are done. Some of you are, yay. We're going to move on.
Oh. It looks like a lot of people took their thumbs up down.
Oh,
Oh,
is
I'm
that the one
sorry.
that disappears?
You know what? You know what? We need the raised hand. The
Oh, that's
thumbs
the one
up
that stays.
is
I'm sorry.
temporary. The raised hand is the permanent one. So sorry, use the raise hand.
Yeah, I was trying to be all right.
Yeah, I know.
I goofed.
It's okay. I
Okay.
forgot for a second too.
I see the actual raised hand too. Thanks.
Yeah. The
Okay,
raised
good.
hand is the only one that stays up until somebody actually
Okay,
actively takes it down.
okay.
Everything else
Can
drops.
you remove them all?
I can.
Okay.
But we're still,
So,
yeah, we're at 25. We've got 75 people participating. So
okay.
more?
Yeah, a few more. I'm gonna wait another minute.
Mm-hmm. The raised hand is on the bottom of your Zoom screen. There's a little smiley face that says reactions. If you click on that, then there's a series of little parts and that stuff, but on the bottom, there's an actual palm, full hand, says raise hand. That's the one that stays. Okay,
Oh,
so we're at 34, that 35, that's very close to half.
yeah, I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, I think that's
And
reasonable.
you've got this little guide here if you need to refer to it. So now we're gonna focus on the center line, and we're gonna do some measurements along the center line. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this just so I'm working left to right. That's my comfort zone. I'm gonna make a note here, top. This is the top of my card. That's important. Again, this is all going to be hidden, so you don't have to worry about any markings. I am going to put my ruler at 0 now. Some rulers, by the way, just check where 0 is. Have a little extra space, or it's just different these days. 0 always used to be predictable. Now it's not. And so I've got it on that center fold. And let me just look at what you're seeing. See. Okay, yeah. And now I'm going to make 3 marks. So these are the numbers I'm following now. So I'm going to make 3 dots for the top of these peaks of the house. 1 inch, 1 5/8. I'm making this right on the center line. And 2 1/4. And that's actually 2.6 centimeters, 4.2 centimeters, and 5.7. And yeah, so those are 3 marks we need on the center line. I can see mine's pretty faint. I'm going to switch to a pen here, just so you can see. And I'll actually draw these in pen too. When I designed this, after this point, I just used a, I don't know what this is called. It's for book binding. It's a 1/2 inch steel piece, bronze or something. And I just used that as my guide for making these marks and getting the distances right. It was really easy. And then to be able to share with you how to do it, because not everybody has one of these, I had to go backwards and re-engineer and come up with all these measurements. So it's interesting how that works. Okay, so let me just draw these. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to move on. Okay, and I'll draw that center line. Okay, so now we're going to mark the sides of the rooftops over here on these 3 lines. And it's going to stagger the same on both sides. So we are going to start at this line in the center, closest to the center line, and this line. And we are going to measure down 1 and, no, wait, sorry, let me just make sure. Okay, we already did that. Yeah, I started to say the wrong thing. Okay, so we're going to go down 3 inches on both sides. So let's just all do that together and make a mark. 3 inches and 3 inches, which you see here is 7.7 centimeters. Kathy's asking, what is the center number? I don't know which one you mean, because there are, this one?
Oh, what she's saying is that the camera is focusing on your hands. So when you
Oh.
put your hands on that diagram that has the numbers,
This
then
goes-
it tightens up and we can actually read the numbers if our screen is big enough. But when you move away from it, it tends to blur that. Right now, it's still in focus for me.
Okay, so I still don't
The
know,
answer
Kathy.
is 1 5/8 inches.
Thank you, Liz. Okay, now we're going to move out to the next line, this middle line on both sides. And that is 2 3/4 inches. So it's a little shorter than the one we just made. And then I'm going to move up here, do the same. And that's 7 centimeters. And then we're going to move to the outer lines where it's 2.5 inches or 6.4 centimeters. Okay, so now you've got, I'm going to put the top back up. And this is how it should look. I'll give you a moment to get that. And let's do that raise hand thing again when you're
Yeah, and
Oh, you're
some
done?
people couldn't find the reactions.
Mhm.
If you don't see the little smiley face that says reactions, then go to the box that's, or to the tool that says more and has 3 dots. Click on that and you should be able to find reactions along with other things.
Okay. So
We're doing good.
everybody's working?
Yeah, we're not to halfway yet, but
Okay.
it's moving up.
Any questions? Oh, good. All right, I'm gonna give you 1 more minute. I think we're doing pretty well on time.
Yeah, we have 33. That's pretty darn close.
Okay, I'm gonna wait till 32 minutes after the
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah,
You want the camera closer to this paper? I can do that for a moment, but then I have to come back. Sorry, that was Gretchen.
yeah.
So if you want to make any notes, do it now, because I have to move the camera back to show the next step.
And of course, you only have to put on your notes the measurement that makes sense to you, not the
Yes,
other.
right. Okay, I'm gonna come back over here now. All right, so now we're just gonna draw, we're gonna pre-draw our lines so that we don't accidentally cut in the wrong place. It's better to draw in the wrong place and catch a mistake. So we're gonna connect this top center line to the top line on the outer and the top line on the outer over here. And let me just draw that. And then it's gonna start looking like what you might expect and be kind of easy to follow the pattern. Okay, so that's my top rooftop. And then we're just going to go down to the second line on second marking on the center line and connect it to this, the ones on the middle vertical lines. So those are parallel. And then you can probably see the pattern. We'll connect the bottom center line mark to these bottom two. Okay, I'll give you a moment to catch up. Let me know if you have any questions.
We have couple of people already raised their hands before you said that, so I'm assuming that they were just anticipating. And
Oh, Rose, great idea to do a screenshot.
Jerry did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to do that of this, could take a screenshot right now. I'll try not to move it.
But everybody can,
But look at
actually,
Jerry's. Yeah.
yeah, and
Look at Jerry's.
they can share it too. In the chat, you can click on there's like 3 dots next to the photo and you can click on save as and then put it wherever you want in your computer. So there's a way to save that from the chat.
Okay, so yeah, keep raising your hand if you're done. All right. Where do you see how many people have raised their hand, Lori?
I see it underneath the participants. There's a running total.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm quickly counting.
No, I know
Um,
I know
but
I'm
yeah,
not seeing that.
um,
I don't know why.
okay, and it might be a host thing.
Yeah.
But there are a number of people who've been using disappearing,
Uh-huh.
thumbs up, etc.
Well,
So I'm
yeah,
going to say we're probably in the low 30s.
yeah. We're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Ellen, the screenshot is right up above in the chat. Jerice Fogel posted that picture. And yeah. Okay. So now we're going to do some cutting. And what you're just going to cut on those lines that we just drew. Okay. So now I don't think this is terribly confusing, but you could get confused because of all of the verticals. Like we have extra verticals here. Because I just felt it was simpler to draw them all the way up the page. So if you want to, these are like nothing now, all these lines that I'm just kind of drawing over. We don't need them. And that may be even more confusing. So you just want to cut, and you need to use an X-Acto along those 3 rooftop lines on either side. For me, it's easier just to cut all the right-hand ones. And then I'm going to turn my paper. So I'm just cutting, and you could even just mark cut, cut, cut. Now this is longer, so I'm cutting here too, and I'm cutting here. So I'm cutting from here to here, here to here, just right on those lines. And then I'm just turning this so it's ergonomic. I'm going to cut between these, and these should all meet in the middle. So that you're actually cutting through the top. This one didn't quite cut through. So if I flip it over, it's nice and clean. You can see what I've got. So I've just got 2 of these, but 3 cuts. So let me know if you have any questions. And we're going to do some scoring next.
Shelley is asking, could you just fold it in half and cut both sides at the same time?
You could, yep. Yep. It's just thicker. So I cut them singly, but yes, absolutely. And you could see how this could be really easy. Now that you know what to do, you could just take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and cut 3 cuts with scissors even, and stagger them a little bit, and this is how paper engineers do their initial designs, is just kind of playing around and taping and gluing and cutting. And yeah, so that's right. You could do that. Okay, now I've got a shorter ruler I'm going to use for this. That's the only reason I'm switching. We're going to score. And this is important now. You don't need to score these vertical lines all the way. You only score up to these points. Okay? So score from here down, here down, here down, and then the same over here. Otherwise, you're going to have some score lines that you don't need in your finished piece. So I'm going to use a bone folder. So I'm scoring those 3 lines, and then the center fold is already scored. So don't need to score that. And then the 3 on the other side. And I didn't really talk about paper grain, but it's really handy. We're going to find out now how your paper folds to have the grain running in this direction of all these folds. This is a fairly light paper, so it should fold well either way, but my grain is running in that direction. And I'm going to let you catch up. Raise your hand when you're done. When you're done with scoring.
Okay, I think that we're at least halfway.
Okay. Okay, awesome. All right, so now you want to fold these so that this turns out to look like my house. And so let's just take a look at this. Because I'm on the back side here, and we're going to flip it over, and this is the front side. So let me just talk about it first. So if you know about mountains and valley folds, these peaks are mountain folds, and these valleys are valley folds. So it's like a V, and then, well, we got like a giant M if you want to use mountain and valley. So we're going to flip this over, and we're going to fold. And so you've got your center line folded. It's actually folded in the wrong direction right now, and that's okay. But I'm going to start on the left, and I'm going to create a valley fold for this outer one. I'm just following what I've got here. And if you make a mistake, it's really easy to just fold it the other way. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side for the outer fold. I'm just kind of pre-creasing right now. I'm not folding it all the way, just training it. And then the next fold parallel is a mountain. So I'm pushing that down. I'll do that over here. And then actually the center line has to do both because the rooftops do both. And then the next one, so it's just alternating, is a valley, and then that center has to pop out. So see how I've got my shape now. And once you have all those folded, you can pinch them and fold them all the way and actually crease. And if anything is misaligned, just a hair, you can kind of tweak it and get it to line up. Okay. So this is what I designed initially, and I thought, oh, it's kind of cool how it sits on the table. And maybe for another shape, this would be finished. But I thought, oh, I'm going to give it a back so it stands up. I mean, it stands up also, but this is just kind of the design evolution. So we are going to tape this in here, but first I'm going to show some punching of holes. So I'm going to give you a minute or two to catch up. You can raise your hand when you're done. You can hold it up, I can see. Everything's moving around. Looks good, Elaine. Candace, nice. Jane, yay. Fun colors, everybody. Laura, Susan, Penelope, Jean, great. So fun. Okay, now if you don't have a Japanese screw punch, here is mine. You could just do cutouts, or you could collage, you could do anything. It's kind of fun to cut holes though, because you see the paper coming through the back. Punch or cut holes. So just give you another minute. I don't see quite enough raised hands. So don't forget to do that.
Oh, I think we're there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely there.
Okay. Okay, so now there's just something to think about when you punch the holes is that however you're going to, you need to pre-plan how you're going to attach your card to the base. So I'm going to use this double-sided tape, which is a little more than 1/2 inch. So I don't want the holes that I punched to interfere with that, where the tape's going to go. So I'm going to work on the back because I can draw something here and then punch my holes along the line that I draw. But I'm just going to make a mark for myself that's about the width of that tape. So, because I am a classic mistake maker, that if I don't have that guide, I would be punching all the way to the edge and then I would run into the tape. So this is just my guide tape. And then I'm going to draw my little cloud. You can do any shape you want. And I could cut that out or punch, and I'll just show the punching. So this is, if you don't know what a Japanese screw punch is, it's available from Talus. Amazon has some, but they're not quite as well made. And they have about 7 different bit sizes, and this is the teeny tiny one. So you can change it out for punching different sized holes. And this is rather tedious to punch. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But it's got this, you just press down and it's got a spring in there. So I am punching these little holes. You can see it here, how it's starting to show on the front. Oh, I did it on the other side. So that's another thing. If you haven't started yet, you might want to do that on this side, because I also did something on the front of the card, which now I can't do, or I have to do it somewhere else. So yeah, there's a lot of places you can make mistakes. And that's why we make models of things in the paper year.
Liz is asking if that's the 1 millimeter punch.
It's the tiniest one.
Yeah, that's the 1 millimeter.
Yeah. Okay, so and then maybe over here, I'll just cut a shape. I'm gonna cut, oh no, I was gonna cut it into this paper. Okay, so you really have to think about where you're doing things. On this one, it's folded this way. I can draw on this side because this will be hidden inside. I'm going to make a little flower. I'm doing it outside of the 1/2 inch. So this will just be a cut design rather than a punched. So I'm just killing time now. If people have questions, please ask. Try to get all my punching done before I put this together, and then we'll assemble. You can kind of tuck your card in there and see what's going to happen. Okay, let me see if I can do this quick. Okay, and we'll do a little show and tell at the end. It's always fun to see the variety. And again, if you'd like to post on Instagram and tag me, Helen Hiebert, and the paper year, that'd be fun. And I'll be sending the recording to all of you, and along with the registration link for the paper year. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. The next project we'll deliver next Monday. It's that inflatable. And then we'll have our Zoom meeting on the 13th. Okay, so I've got my punched holes and my cutout. And I'm going to move on now. So just if you're not done with your embellishments, just watch what I do now, so that you know, because we've got about 8 minutes. I need to make sure I finish and we can see. So I'm going to put double-sided tape around the perimeter and also around the outside of the house. So it's going to take me a minute. So I'm just going to line the tape up along the outer edges. And around the edges of the house. So right butting up to that outermost score line. I might not need it right here. It's not a very big space. Do the same thing on the other side. And I'm just thinking, I could actually put tape all the way along here, because that whole panel needs to glue down. So there's a little bit of creative license. And then I'm going to run into it here. And then I want the top edge. Yeah, I don't really need this probably. And then I do want to show, I'm going to glue the two side or tape the two sides in a little differently. So I'm going to start with this side, which will be the left hand. And I'm going to remove the tape just on that side. Okay, so I need a slit actually in my tape here, because there's an easy way to make sure it falls into the right position if you just glue half at a time. I'm using glue and tape interchangeably. Okay, and this is a little bit tricky because remember I have that 1/8 inch around the edges. So I don't want to tape this right to this outer edge. I need to get it in the center. So I'm going to put the center down about that 1/8 inch down. And at the same time, I'm gonna actually start down here, the bottom edge and the center. We talk about this in the paper year, that glue has a little bit of wiggle room and double-sided tape doesn't. And then actually, if you put glue stick on top of double-sided tape, it gives you a little wiggle room. So I just thought of that right now. I was not prepared for that. Okay, so now that I've got that in the right place, what I'm going to do is remove the tape here, and then I'll just close the card and this will end up in the right place. Rather than doing it like this. This ensures that it's going to land exactly where it needs to. Okay, so now I'm just gonna make sure this is held down. It's a little bit unusual because it's several layers here at the bottom. And then if I close this, it's going to land right on top where it needs to. I could do a little trimming here. My bottom edge isn't perfect. It's pretty close. And there is my card. So I've got my cutout here, my punch design here, and my pop-up in the middle. Yay! Oh, Jane's sending it to a friend who just moved to a new house. Yeah, it'd be a great happy new home card. So wonderful. Thanks, everyone. Are there any last questions? If not, I'd love to, we could spotlight a few people who'd like to share. If you want to do your, raise your hand if you'd like to share, and we'll put you on the big screen. So we'll spotlight you. Okay.
Okay, Liz. Oh, I'm sorry. I clicked, it jumped and I clicked. Okay, hold on, spotlight, there. Yay.
Oh, look at that. I love that. The greenery you added. Nice work. The
So that's a
paper,
bit of sushi grass.
sushi grass. What is that
Oh,
from sushi? Is that like a product?
It's raw fish.
I know what sushi is, but the
When you
but
buy
you've got the,
packages of sushi,
it has
they
that,
have this in the package to separate
the
the
rolls.
wasabi from the actual sushi.
I've never noticed that. That's so cool. I love it. Great reuse too.
yeah.
Thanks, Liz. Okay.
Uh, okay, Elaine.
Oh, you used the,
I use the Japanese screw punch and then I just cut these by hand. the little
yeah,
ones.
that's wonderful.
Thank you. It's a fun structure, Helen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that reminds me of erector sets. Do you
Yeah.
ever build with those, the way you punch the holes? Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
okay.
Just raise your hand if you want to share.
Penelope,
Oh, there we get the close.
you're muted. So we can't hear you, Penelope.
Right.
Oh, and you
There.
had a punch. A punch is another great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my paper originally had a punch. It's some old notebook
Oh.
card stock.
Right.
And so I used, but this is
Great.
for a 3-year-old's birthday.
Oh, wonderful.
She loves pink. I like
Great.
that sushi grass idea. That's fabulous.
Yeah. Thanks, Penelope.
Okay, Shelley.
Thank you.
Shelley, you're muted. Oh, now you're not. Okay.
Okay, hold it up a little higher.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you with your windows. You have a different structure. It's a little different. I like it. Very cool.
Nice.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Nice work.
Okay,
Anybody
anyone else?
All right.
Jean, did you want to share? I'm gonna try. Jean, I've got you on sharing if you, no, okay, sorry. Sorry. Okay. If anybody else wants to share, the simplest is doing a raised hand so I can quickly see you, but otherwise, okay. It looks like people
All right.
are doing additional details on theirs.
Yeah, and
um,
we're at the top of the hour. So
Yeah.
I see Rose, I see yours. Beautiful. Thanks everybody for coming. And thanks to all of my Paper Year members who are here. And I hope to see some of you join our group. It's a really fun, supportive community.
Mhm.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.